Hi all, welcome to Life Rhythms, Tarot, Food, and Spirit. I'm here to offer my wrap-up for February, and in some ways I feel like I don't know where to begin. So one could say, well, you begin at the beginning. February was quite a rich month in terms of diving in almost not of my own control onto some really deep, much deeper, and I would have to say with that heavier levels of self-becoming. And so it began with my card of the month, which I chose from the beautiful Margarete Petersen Tarot. And the card that came forward for me was the Daughter of Coins. And her poetry around this card, especially I feel her court cards or her family clan cards, are so specific that whereas in other months from different decks, say, one month I had the High Priestess or something, I would have various High Priestess cards rotating on my altar. But for Daughter of Coins and where this touched me, this just was the card, singular. And so of the earth, daughter, and what just tunneled me right into this journey that I'll say began in February and is now certainly continuing. I keep notes in a separate book. I have several different books that I have that I keep journaling. I have different places for different aspects of journaling, but I think rather than read from my notes, I'll read something just right from her book. I am the daughter of the senses and of consciousness, deeply immersed in the archeology of my ancestral land. I went many ways. In circles and spirals, I experienced myself through the many layers of my being. I walked through deserts, through inhabited and uninhabited landscapes. Plants nourished me, herbs healed me. My mind became clear and pure like a crystal. It goes on, because actually I think I'll stop there because I won't say that my mind became pure and clear like a crystal, but it's on that journey. And I think one of the things that truly touched me about this, one of the many things, was deeply immersed in the archeology of my ancestral land, which for any of you who have followed me at all, know that this has been a big part of my journey always, but certainly in the last 6 or so months. And it's not so much about finding the manifests of who came over when and that kind of thing. It's truly more about this wide wondering of who my tribe was before God or Christianity came to my people. And certainly from where my people are from, it could have been Christianity. I'm gonna just stick with that for now. but what were the practices? And there's so much talk now, conversation now around cultural appropriation and things of this nature, and who, how we handle and take on practices of other cultures, and they're not ours, and ours meaning the white person who is, now, who has been born in America, kind of thing, or of people of other lands that have colonized other lands. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but it's obviously a big conversation right now. And so I want to know my place. I'm certainly attracted to many practices and traditions and things that draw me in to the dream time, to the wondering time, to the deepening time. And there are practices that are not native to my culture. So what are they? So been wondering so much around that. But also wanting to honor myself and who I am, and that has come from so many layers of land. All of us are part of one another. We all eat of this land. We all come up from the land. We all go back to the land. The land is what brings us our nourishment. So many layers. So how can we not be a part of all of it, and all of it be a part of us? So this is a huge part of my journey. And what started to become a little bit more focused was I hold the monthly moon circles around the new moon, and so the new moon in February was Aquarius, and so the question the broad canopy was honoring your vision. So the conversation that ensued from there, and that also came up partially from Daughter of Coins being my card, was how can we know our vision? How can we have vision when in a way we don't know where we've come from? When we have missed initiations, rites of passage. So this brought me, and then offering to the group, into this wonderment of, what is it to be a maiden, and to have that wonderment, that dewy wonderment of unashamed and unabashed, running in the fields, of being, maybe cliche here, but that unabashed nakedness of self, and having the elders, the crone women looking at you and with a smile and a glint in their eye, knowing that and remembering that, and then having mothers who came up with mothers that could hold a child, going from childhood into becoming a young woman, and can hold the turbulence of that, of the hormonal turbulence of all of that, and so that how broken our tribe is. And so all these pieces fit together. If you're following me, where do I come from? Where do I begin? Where do we begin? In the broken tribe. And so it led me into naturally really wanting to focus on my passages, and kind of reweave and heal these passages for myself. So a big piece of February was also spending time in the Maiden aspect of my journey, and reweaving it. And I'm not going to share much about that because, as you can imagine, it's just a lot. But some of the cards I worked with were from the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, and of course the Maiden card from there, and then also how that aspect very much relates if you're coming up well, meaning that you have a place to come up through, or people holding you, tribe holding you, then it brings you to self, which very much to me relates to the Daughter of Coins, and how you're going through this passage of becoming a young woman. So that was a huge part of my journey. In February, the Weaver card that walked with me for February, also, of course, I wove the story that it fit in very well, is Vessel, Shaman Weaver of the Oceans. And so, I mean, just look at her. What can I hold? What do I want to hold? Who is holding me? Who held me were some of the questions. And if you read Carolyn Hillier's book for this shaman, she's has the drum, let's see, the stone drum, cloud drum, and the sea drum. And so I did a lot of drumming in February, and so and asked, what songs are those drums singing for me? And then what, one of the questions I asked is, what is my grandmother singing to me, as part of this reweaving and healing journey? And then I had a series of questions, not many, I think there were 5. And then what song does my soul long to sing back? And then the last question that I was working with was, what fills my bowl? So this is, been the journey in February. And I guess one of the last pieces around this, well, there are two pieces that are so as some of you also know, I'm working with the New Moon calendar journal, which has been wonderful, wonderfully interactive for me, working on so many levels. And so for the new moon, in the Aquarian new moon, I did this mandala, Eve greets the snake. So in a way, it's reclaiming our own feminine journey and initiation. So again, a lot could be said on that, but it led me to getting it back a little bit into, I started working on this kind of collage here, work in progress. I hope it doesn't end up like many of my paintings, begun and not completed, but everything completes in its time, right? So the last piece about that kind of fed all of this was the rune that came forward for me, Othila, and please, I do apologize. I'm just initiating my practices with the rune, so and I am working with it also as a language, so I'm apologizing for my pronunciation if that's incorrect. But from the beautiful runes revealed, again, just fit so seamlessly into all of my questions. Do you know who you are? Do you know who your people are? Do you know where your ancestors are buried? These are the questions Othila asks. We have lost our connection with ancestral home. We've wandered far and wide and have sat at the sacred fires of many strange and foreign peoples. We know their words, but we no longer speak our mother tongue. We've forgotten who we are and where we come from. So again, this all goes into initiation, tribe, passages, and how there's so much journeying for us to bring ourselves up as individuals. And for me, that's what all of this is about, the responsibility of bringing myself back up, and then what that can heal, potentially. Maybe heal my mother, maybe heal the ones who have passed, who were broken from their lands. Many thoughts on that. And so some of the tools that assisted me were, I connected through Etsy with this wonderful woman, the short shaman. And so I got this beautiful ceremonial wand from her. I have a few beautiful wands from Collage, but this I've been using more directly with my personal altar work that I've been doing in February. But on that note, I did, just in time, right before Kasha left on her journey, or I think she might have been in flight when this finally came, this just spectacular phantom quartz. And there's some grouse feather on here, and her beautiful moon transition, moon phases, driftwood. It's so simple, so direct, so strong. And I think it was before I even knew, somewhere it was already in the ether that this process was coming down for me. But when I saw it, I think she was calling it Crone and cycles. So worked so perfectly. And then I feel like, in a way, this is anticlimactic, but not ever anticlimactic. One of the decks that I've had for a while, but just started to work with quite a bit last month, was the Dark Goddess Tarot. Ellen Lorenzi Prince's decks are never anticlimactic, but so this really nourished my journey quite a bit. And then a deck that I've had for quite a long time, that was on the lighter end of the spectrum, for me anyway, is the Lumina. So I finally pulled that out, and apparently I have the second pulling these out. I'm so inept at doing these card showings like this. I have the second edition, and so I'm just going to put this out there. I have a lust for getting my hands on the first edition. So whomever is listening, if you know anyone, if a little birdie is singing in your ear, or if you have a first edition that you haven't connected with. And one of the big reasons is the High Priestess. That is one of my main cards, one of my main companions, and I don't have her out here, but in this deck, and it's one of the reasons why it took me so long to decide to actively work with the deck, is I don't really feel a connection with the High Priestess in this second edition, but in the first edition I've seen the High Priestess, and she's lovely. So I think I'm going to leave my February wrap up at that. It's been quite a journey, and if you've watched through this, thank you for living through some of that journey with me. And I wonder, I would love to know where any of you are at with working with reweaving and weaving through, or maybe you didn't need to. Maybe you grew up through an intact tribe of women carrying you through, and I'd love to hear those stories. So thank you so much for listening. The very last thing I'm going to say is it's so funny that Simon over at formerly Two Spirit changed the name of his channel, because for the last few weeks I have been deciding that I am actually going to change the name of this channel, and so that'll be coming soon. It's when I can do a new opening video. I will do that, but it's basically to simplify across the social media, so it'll change to Bone Root Herb. So those of you who follow me on Instagram, it'll be easy, and that's also my website, bonerooterb.com. So that will be coming soon, and blessings be to all of you. Always so inspired to sit with you. Thank you.